Dr. Travis Fox, welcome to the Rich Equation podcast. Honor for you to be here.
Thanks, man. Long time no see, right?
Yeah, long time no see. I'm really excited for this conversation. You know, you have such a extensive and diverse experience, personally, professionally. You're a doctor in a few different degrees, which gives a whole nother mindset perspective in your experience as an entrepreneur.
Sure.
And you have developed this really cool quest, and I'm going to let you explain it. But before we get into quest,
Sure.
I'd love you to spend a couple minutes and sort of giving us a little bit of context, a little bit of background, because it's not something I can just throw into an intro for you. I think your background is it's intertwined, and there's a lot of things that are important in how you got here from your background. So I'd love you to spend a couple minutes and kind of telling us, how did Dr. Travis Fox get here?
Well, it started with my parents.
Loaded question.
It started with my parents that I had nothing to do with. They had a great date, and then, I was the product of that. And so I'm one of the unique people out there, and there's a small fraternity of us that have graduated high school twice. I graduated once with my mother and once with myself as an individual. So it was a double accomplishment, which also tells you it takes me twice as long to learn crap. So there you go. I was born to a model, actress, and a fighter pilot. And so if you ever saw the original movie Top Gun, not the most recent one, but the original one, it didn't quite work out that way. I was whisked off at the very young age, literally weeks old, off to Japan. I spent the first 4.5 years of my life in Japan. Had a brief stint coming back to Florida. And that's when my father put a golf club in my hand. And I was just shy of 5 years old. And I started my golf career at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida at 5 years old. And back then, all I wanted to do was hit the bunkers because sand made sense to me. Everything else was boring. But that became kind of the impetus and a roadmap for everything that we're about to talk to here today. And long story long, I then did another 3.5 years in Europe. So I spent the first decade of my life outside the United States, which really gave me culturalization because I got to see many countries as a young kid. And I started to understand that the reality check is we're all in the people business. And so for me, it made me very comfortable with people and very curious. And I'm a curious by nature. I'm a passionate individual because to me, human beings are fascinating. And how we choose to architect our stories here on life makes it even more fascinating to me. And around 18, I was on the path to be a PGA Tour golfer. That was, everybody knew it. I was headed there. That was my entire focus. I'd been playing golf my entire career, and I'd been doing film and television behind the scenes, which really started my entrepreneurial journey. But it was a very interesting way I got into it, which kind of collided when I was 18 years old. My subconscious said, hey, we're playing golf for all the wrong reasons. We're playing for my dad. We're playing for my dad's approval. We're playing because that's the only way my dad and I can communicate post my parents' divorce. We're communicating because we have a different ideology, and that's the only place. It was a safe place to communicate. It was also the only place that my father couldn't argue with me about everything, because in the golf course, I was better. I was a scratch golfer by the time I was 13, and then he was a pretty good golfer, but he was never scratched. So I could consistently be in an elevated space with him. And I realized it became a competitive model, and something that, for those of you who are out there in that space, it's like walking on eggshells, because you never know when it's going to go from a positive to a negative. And it was a really interesting relationship dynamic. So from that, subconsciously, I decided to become a father, and I became a father almost with subconscious incompetence and not knowing what I was doing. And it was the only way I knew at the time. Now, of course, I'm looking back now at younger Travis, was to destroy that model, because I knew if I had stayed on the PGA Tour path, I was going to be a miserable human being. I suffered from a high degree of perfectionism, self-value issues. My self-worth was based on my father's approval of my golf play. And often golf doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you play, right? And what you think you deserve. And so it's a constant negative feedback source. And I really found out, and if I can be candid with your audience, I found out I was turning into an asshole, because I was always pissed off on the inside. My brain was always constantly going, that shot wasn't good enough. I didn't hit it right. I spun it this way. I wanted to spin it that way. And I could have made that putt. And it's this constant rhetoric. But that rhetoric is the impetus and groundwork for my 30-year career, because at that moment, that's when everything changed. And I went from literally going, this is my whole life planned out, to I'm now a head case. I would be on the golf course and just lose it. I'd just start crying for no reason, or I would just get completely pissed off and just lose emotionally. And I thought, man, I'm out of control. And I went on my journey, and I met my mentor and master, and I sat under him for 15 years, and I did achieve 2 doctorates, one in psychology and the second one in clinical hypnotherapy. And I was really curious and fascinated. How do we change this thing up here, this thing on in my shoulders? How do I really change me? Because I had started my career into the self-transformational world and entrepreneurial world when I was 13. The first big book that had an influence on me. People always ask, "What's the first book?" And it was a hero's journey for me. It was Dr. Dennis Waitley's book, which is The Psychology of Winning. And I had focused it on golf. My entire transformation was always about golf. It never dawned on me that I'm the actual issue. It's not the golf. It's not my business. It's not my relationship. It's Travis. Well, shit. That threw me out of a tailspin. I was like, whoa. Wait a minute. I'm the problem? Wow. Never dawned on me. And from that moment, when Doc really got his teeth into me and grabbed me by the back of the neck and said, "Listen, kid, you got the goods, but your head's not screwed on square. So we're going to walk you through this." And I sat under him for years. And that's when I became passionate. I realized that this sucks. This is not what, great architect, God, however you define your higher power, put us here on earth, or why we all agreed to come. It was, hey, look, man, this is to be the adventure of a lifetime. This is an adventure. This is a nightmare. This sucks every way possible. And I became curiously just emboldened, passionate of, I want to create an educational system that starts from the moment we arrive on the planet that reminds us that we are the central axis of every part of our journey. We are the single longest relationship we're ever going to have over here on planet Earth. Doesn't matter what your significant other is, your kids, all those things are transactional. I know that sounds terrible to say, but they are. That's why we have a divorce rate that's over 70% here in the United States. So kids go to college, they leave. So when I started looking at it, I got really curious. How do we actually transform? And that led me into the entire business we're in now. And that kind of brings you up to speed, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah. So, whoa. That's very, we can go deep in all kinds of places. Well, Business Quest does have sort of this film and like a storytelling underlayment. And I think it probably helps in the way that our brain processes information. It learns, it's fun. It's, it's abstract. It's not like what we learn in a textbook, right?
Not even close.
So tell me a little bit about, I guess, the development of Business Quest, what you've kind of found in that process, and just tell the audience of what it is.
Yeah. First, it's the first of its kind. It's the first app that actually takes you from founder funding to fortune and the entrepreneurial journey. We all hear these things on on the internet and social media now. Entrepreneurialism is not a straight line. It's a big bowl of spaghetti, and you got to grind, and all these isms, and they all have their merit individualistically. But how the hell do they fit in a puzzle? How do I make this process work? And the whole point of your educational system, which was, again, elementary, middle school, high school, and then, some sort of education afterwards, whether it was the school of hard knocks or it was university or post-grad, it's still supposed to be a blueprint. Bullshit. It's the most confusing thing you've ever met in your entire life. It teaches you all of these theories, and then the moment you walk out the door, you get slapped with this thing called reality. And then to couple it, just to complete the mind job that is the most mind job, best hypnosis ever imparted on humanity is, hey, here's what we want you to do. We want you to spend 17 years of your life, the first part, which is the most influential part of how we build structural foundation at a subconscious level, at an emotional traumatic level, at a conscious view level. And we want you to go out and believe that you can achieve anything that you want. If you believe it, you can achieve it. And we hear all these isms and crap. And somewhere around 14 or 15, it starts to slowly dialectically change to the time you graduate high school of, hey, Travis, you graduated high school now. You're a big boy. Now you need to go be an adult, and you need to figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. What's your passion, your purpose? Great. That's a hell of an adventure. I want to go on it. I have no idea where to start, because you have conditioned me for 17 years to believe that if I just believe it and imagine it, which I've mastered, and all of us did. We're all master imaginators, master dreamers. We're great at it. We're mental masturbators. We're fantastic at it. And then all of a sudden we have to shift gears, but we have no frame of reference, both subconsciously and consciously, what the hell that actually means. And then most of us are inducted into the school of hard knocks. And the school of hard knocks is truly, the best way I can describe it to you is like fumbling around in the dark, in a dark room with no flashlight, no frame of reference, trying to find a mysterious light switch that you can't find. The challenge is, for some people, it takes their entire lifetime. And to me, that's the travesty of humanity. I think that's the worst thing we can impart upon humans, because they are dynamic, amazing creatures, myself included, you included, all of you listening are included. And so when we look at that, The Quest became an amalgamation of the four cornerstones. Myself and my co-founder, Michelle, who happens to be the CEO of the company. I come from the clinical side, from the architectural, psychology, structural side. My friend comes from the archetypial side and from the work that we did with at-risk, and he did specifically, with at-risk youth centers for the #1 at-risk youth center for 10 years running. How do we bring these kids back from the most horrific traumas you can imagine? And I mean the most horrific, and bring those families back. And we found, just to your point, doing it in a clinical fashion often just makes you aware, but it doesn't change anything. Okay, hey, great. I get hit by an acorn from a tree. Well, I'm aware of it, but it's not like I can change the tree from dropping another acorn on my head. I just have to kind of move around in this very paranoid state of hoping that the acorn doesn't follow me. And that's how we tend to approach life, very reactively. We go limbic, right, into reptilian brain, but we're conditioned to do that. And it's the most massive form of hypnosis, which I find it ironic that my mentor was brilliant enough to go, I'm going to teach you all how this hypnosis actually works. Not the crap you see in Hollywood, look deep into my eyes. Like, bullshit. Sure. It is not a magic, potion thing that says, hey, I snap my fingers and all of a sudden you're a gazillionaire. Or, hey, if you stare at it long enough, guess what? It goes right into your subconscious. Yeah, that's true. And it's called osmotic hypnosis, but it's not really how we create transformations of ourselves. And if you're truly going to transform and become something else, which is your God-given, however you define God. I'm not here to define that for you. I'm not smart enough. But however you define that, that's the adventure you're really on. And I got really pissed off when I was a young doctor, because as a young doctor, I was like, you guys taught me all this stuff, but then you gave me all these damn rules that I can't work within. I can't ask a question like, hey, by the way, what the hell do you really want? And how come you're doing something dichotomous to that? It has rules, makes no sense. And so the quest was, what if we made this fun? Because everybody's mastered fun. If I go back to those first 17 years, right? Even if I just bring it down to your first 10 years of your life, you mastered fun. Even with all the trauma you had as a kid, and we all did, you knew it. Subconsciously, you know how to have fun right now. No one needs to teach you squat. What they need to do, and that's what the quest does, is gives you a blueprint on how to make everything fun and make it an adventure. Because when you were a kid, you were fearless. You did everything. You could master what you wanted to become for your imagination, and you would transform it. Even through make-believe, you would do it, but no one had to teach you how to do it. You have to go through these Gestalt experiences, or walk across fire, or beat your head against the wall, and all these crazy things to prove that you're a dynamic human being. That is you still trying to outside in prove to yourself of something you don't subconsciously believe. And that's why the self-help industry has grown to a $936 billion, with a B, $billion a year business. Now think about that, family. Everybody listening, I want you to put your thinking caps on. It's basic math. If it's the self-help business is supposed to teach you how to help yourself transform, why do we spend $1 billion a year doing the same stupid shit? Because it's hypnotic. It's designed to give you a dopamine experience to feel like you're actually changing something that makes you feel different, but does not teach you transformation. Now I'm talking in generalities. There are some quality programs out there. Please don't misinterpret. But one of the things I found about it is it has to become these very intense experiences. And you've got to sit and stare at a wall for 14 hours a day. Yeah, I've done it too. It's interesting, but it's not how you're going to build a business. It's sure as hell not how you're going to live your dreams. And you can stare at your vision board. And I love John Assaraf. He's a great friend. I think he's amazing, but cut the crap. I can stare at my vision board all day, but it's not going to build my business. I can imagine manifesting my great life. And hey, guys, by the way, I was one of the co-producers and co-stars to the sequel to The Secret. So I'm going to talk a little shit. I can't. And that is, we don't talk about the truth. And what the quest did is said, look, let's take you from founder funding to fortune, because there are many steps along the way. But here's the deal. None of you, myself included, fit into the idyllic mold of wash, rinse, and repeat, like we keep trying to run people through a mill like we do at school. That is not entrepreneurialism. That is hypnosis, family. I've got an entire doctorate in it. I've written books about it. I've hypnotized 1 million people. It's a joke. The joke is the best hypnotist in the room is you. You hypnotize yourself every single day to crap you don't believe.
Run the program.
Yeah, you know it. New Year's resolutions are the best, biggest bullshit artist system in the history of life, right? I'm going to lose 10 pounds while I eat these Doritos, while I watch NFL and bullshit. We do this every single day. And the difference is it's the subtle ones that we don't pay attention to. It's the subtle little thoughts that have been hypnotically running around in there for a long time. And I'm not saying you need to go to a hypnotist to do it. What you need to do is learn to become an architect of your own life. And the quest says, hey, wait a minute. To sit there and say that you need to be like Travis Fox or Aaron Huey or Michelle or Sifu John Goff or any of us, there's 75 in the company, they're all master teachers and all came together and said, stop. We were already masters once. We just forgot. We were masters when we were first 17 years of age. You mastered changing and transformation and exploration and curiosity. You weren't caught up in paying the bills and being an adult and how do I make money? You just went and experienced it. So fun became a thematic learning system for you. And then you left it. You abandoned it. You abandoned it for beating the crap out of yourself against the wall. I did too. I did for 10 years. I was Dr. Fox. I played the role. I had all the answers. I was on TV. I did. And I realized I was like, this is bullshit. This doesn't teach anybody anything. And I'm a part of that. I didn't want my legacy to be a part of that. And so really about 15 years ago, when my second son was born, my youngest child, he's now 20, he was born autistic and he became one of my greatest teachers. And he taught me how to communicate without verbalities, without words. And I realized that there was a piece missing to the self-transformational system. We talk about it. We kind of throw it out there, but no one really tells you how to do it. I'm a how-to guy. I'm an architect by trade. My brain says there's got to be a step 1, 2, 5, 29 to 36 so I can figure out. But along the way, you as the entrepreneur get to choose your adventure. And that's what the quest is about, is how do we actually invite you and how do you choose every step of the way, but knowing the choices you're making. And it's moving from really the subconscious incompetence, kind of walking around doing the same crap. That's what that subconscious incompetence is, to moving to subconscious competence. I'm aware of my transformation. Listen, I'm transforming my belief systems. I'm evolving myself. I'm transforming myself because I know how to do it. How you choose to become is completely up to you. And that's how it's supposed to be.
Give us, this is very fascinating. So let's slow it down. So
no way. Hell no.
This is beyond just a business tool, process, format, formula, right? This is, you're trying to bring fun into the journey, make a perhaps spaghetti-like system simple and fun to follow, but it's also, dealing with very deep-rooted subconscious beliefs in a human being, not just how to read a balance sheet or how to create a customer journey, right? But what you're saying to me, if I understand properly, is that you're really tying in human psychology into your own personal awareness. So maybe give us some examples on maybe a case study or something that you've learned or something that's really relevant right now.
Oh man, we'd be here for 5 hours. That's for sure. But thank you for the question. 6
minutes.
Yeah. Well, right. We'll do it in 3. Here's the deal. The actual, the actual clinical string is called reverse hypnotic thematic learning through synthesiastic movement. Really fancy way of saying, look, kids, it's a clinical known fact. We got over, 50 years of data, almost 100 of centuries now, going all the way back to, if you want to use Think and Grow Rich, is the original platform for this concept. If you look at that concept, it says think about it and it becomes. Okay, but there's a couple other steps that are missing, right? There's a subconscious, there's the emotional traumatic level, there is, deep down below is what's called a thematic, a theme, right? There's a theme running your life right now. There's a theme. Most of your common themes are not the ones you want because we're over here trying to create the model of mind, body, spirit. That's a sequencing issue. What do I mean by that? If you hear mind, body, spirit, and you start with mindset, the problem is you're asking your mind to solve itself. It doesn't solve itself. It is just a computer. Even Einstein said that which created the problem can't be solved with it, i.e. mind can't solve itself. So we had to go to a level deeper. Well, where's that? Well, 98% of us, in our human systems and our daily habits are run at subconscious level. Well, how the hell do I access them? What do I believe? Well, I don't even know why I keep beating my head. I don't know why I keep hitting that glass ceiling. I'll make $1 million and all of a sudden I'll lose it all. Or, hey, I'll hit my monthly KPI and man, I can't go past that. Why is that? Because there's a belief system in there that says you can't. And it doesn't mean you can't really, but because we're so good and we're talking about this abundant life. Yeah, you're abundant. You're abundant in everything you create every single freaking day. But now you don't want to hear that because that doesn't feel good. And it doesn't sound newspaper bites and things that people want to hear that make them go, oh, I got motivated. Yeah, but motivation's temporary, kids. When you're on passion and purpose, you know your vision, you know your mission, you're on point to leave a legacy because the truth is, and the great Alan Watts is really the kind of final piece that put it together for me. And that is, his famous quote says, life doesn't define death, death defines life. Death is imminent. It's non-negotiable. You can't outsell it. You can't outsex it. You can't buy it. It's coming. We all have a ticket on that train. It's coming. The question is, what train are you going to get on in order to get to that ticket? Are you going to ride the bullet train or are you going to sit there and wait for it to come to you? Most choose the latter. because they think that's what they're supposed to do, or that's good enough. The silent killer in all of this, and now we're down to thematics again, is good enough or mediocrity. The quest is about rescuing your life, your business, your relationships, yourself, your dreams from mediocrity. Because mediocrity
being the hero.
Sir?
And being the hero.
Yeah, not even just being the hero, because the hero implies that you have to conquer something else, right? I get it. It's the hero's journey if you're going to define it that way. And de facto, it can be. And archetypally, we put that in gameplay. And our archetypal system has over 64 different archetypes that you escalate and you learn as you go through the maps. And if you remember those, for those of you who are 80s kids like me, there was those famous books that said, hey, if you read the book, go to chapter 2, you get this outcome, go to chapter 9. That's how entrepreneurialism could be and should be. And that's what the quest does. It says, okay, this is how you're going to hire and fire. You're going to learn what a warrior, wizard, bard, jester is, and how to build a team based on archetypal symbology. How do they show up and how they operate best? Not their resume. Resume doesn't mean anything. That's what they've learned. It's not who they are. And who you are is what we want in a time of passion, a time of need, a time of gotta go. That's your default mech. And when you learn how to put those things together and then you start building a team, now it's fun. Now, instead of going, God dang it, why do you guys overanalyze everything in the boardroom? You keep giving me the no, we can't do it. Well, that's because wizards do that. Wizards are brilliant people. They're the geniuses of our world. But every one of us has a slight flaw in our system. And wizards do too. And wizards find the flaw. But if you know that going in, that's exactly who I want as my CFO. That's exactly who I want doing my ad analytics. That's exactly who I want doing my social media analytics, because they're going to find where it's not working. And instead of beating them up for it and going, you're always so negative, bro. I'm like, I need you to be that way, because that's the genius of who they are. And they'll find the solution and they'll find the problem again. Vice versa. Everybody thinks warrior means fight. Warrior doesn't mean fight. That's an archetype that's been developed by Hollywood. I mean, let's cut the crap, kids. It's the superhero complex. A warrior is, and if you go back in time and you really look at the archetypal of a warrior, warrior is about heart. It's about passion. It is the messenger of the kingdom. It is the doer. It's the one that's going to get it done. Now, you can turn that into some alpha toxicity, male syndrome crap if you want to, but that means all the women are screwed. Well, that makes no sense, because women are better leaders than we are, because they tend to be more balanced, right? I mean, they are. Cut the crap, guys. Deal with it. That's why we have a woman CEO. She's smarter than we are. She's the right man for the job, if I can be pun intended. And when you look at that, we then went, well, what are the fears? Let's conquer them. Let's show you how to do it archetypally and architecturally all the way down, but make it fun. We've made transformation such a woo-woo thing that it never translates into business. Or by the time you go into your business, you've destroyed yourself, you've destroyed your health, you've destroyed your relationships, you've missed your kid, and now you're going to go do woo-woo stuff. Why are they bifurcated? Why are they in two separate columns? It makes no damn sense. So the quest takes you through that and gives you choice. And when you have choice, you're free. That's what it's about.
What do you see as companies who perhaps, let me think of how I want to frame this. I guess the question is, what do you see in companies that fail at this? What prevents them from being able to adopt this successfully?
Okay, great question.
Taking out proper implementation and maybe some of that first level stuff. Like, if I believe this would work, if I take that out, right? If I believe that this will work, where do you see companies fail? And where's the lesson there?
Yeah, great question. Well, and the most painfully obvious is they start the app and don't finish.
Yeah,
and that becomes an algorithm for their life. And one of the first things you look in when you go into it's called the story of how. How the hell did you get here? Most of us don't really know. We don't really stop and take stock that every part of your journey, every single part, since the moment you were born, conceived, to the moment you die, is a puzzle piece. Become curious about that. We have killed our curiosity. That's the number one reason I see people fail, is they quit on curiosity before they ever start. In fact, there's a whole system in the very beginning of Map 2 called Why We Quit. And it really takes you all the way down to the truth. And it's a hard truth to look at. But when you see it, you're like, damn, I've been doing that my whole life. And I'm like, you've been programmed to do it and didn't even know it. And it starts why most of us fail. And it's not even a fail, because you don't get it. You can't fail if you haven't started. That's the joke. Most of it, I failed. I'm like, you never started, bro. You never started. You never really were committed in the beginning, because we don't know what commitment really means anymore. Commitment is transactional. Commitment is, I can hit the delete button. It's over. That's my commitment. I delete that email. I'm not even going to engage, or I'm going to click this relationship because I can just swipe left or right. And that's not a disrespect to those technology advantages, but they are an offer to look at. How are you running your own life? So to ask your question specifically, in August, about a month ago, we gave away the first award in the app, and we do give cash prizes away for people who are like the ultimate warrior, the ultimate jester, and they do it. And this lady was an ultimate warrior. She was a vet out of Wichita, Kansas, of all places. And she went through the app, and we had a technical glitch, and it reset her leaderboard, because there's a whole leaderboard. It's gamified and it's fun. And again, we'll make learning fun, because that's what it's supposed to be. And she wrote a negative review, and we went back and we watched her, because most people write a negative review and they quit right there. That's what we were looking for. Would she quit because she ran into a road bump? Because that never happens in entrepreneurialism. It never happens in your business. You never run into road bumps. It's smooth as all silk. God. So we watched. Not only did she go back through the app, she went through it faster, and this time she completed it. And that was the warrior to us, because she had heart. And when we interviewed her as one of the potential winners, I asked her point blank, how come you went back and did the app? How come you didn't quit? And she said, because I was learning stuff and I wanted to get to the end, because my team and I are understaffed and we're working 16-hour days, and I wanted to know what was better. That's a warrior. That's a warrior. So we flew the two founders, myself and Michelle, the founder, we flew out, actually gave her the cash prize, surprised her in her office, had it all filmed so we could show the deal. We just did the last one, which was about 2 weeks ago for the September award, and that's the Ultimate Jester Award. And the Jester people are really connected. They're the ground. They're the beers, like they can be centered. This young man, he's a high school graduate. He runs a pool service company that you would never heard of in middle of nowhere, blah, and went through the app and doubled his business in less than 6 months. And his business is now for sale for over $1 million. And so when we looked at that, we're like, that's a jester. And he said, I asked him, I said, well, why are you selling your company? He goes, because now I realize that I was doing the pool business because that's how I make money. I want to go out and I want to run centers for people to heal themselves, because I'm deeply passionate about what I went through as a traumatic kid. And that evolution is now happening. He's actually moving to that space and going on. And that's why he's selling his business. That's a jester. That's a jester who's not attached to it, who understands what his service provided. So the failure point really comes from not ever being really committed. We think we are. Think is the operative word. We think we're committed. But deep down inside, ask every one of you listening to this podcast right now, ask yourself this question. Finish my sentence for me. Gee, I'm hoping for the best, but planning for the worst is always going to be your comment. If you listen to that dichotomous statement, that is how we are programmed and how often most people approach their business. Man, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, bro. We're going to make $1 bazillion. But deep down inside, I am scared shitless. I'm protective of the what if it fails? What if I'm successful? What if nobody likes my idea? We're already planning for the worst. We were never committed. We were never really committed. And that's why we really failed. And that's the number one reason.
And so it's really important for us to go down into our subconscious, but you can't, we're talking about perhaps very deep rooted fears. Fear, yes, no, let's get psychological here. Let's go deeper.
I thought you were going to say,
walk us through it. Because I think everyone has the intention, right, of not having those limiting beliefs or fears or deeply rooted subconscious behaviors.
Right.
How do we move past those? How do we heal those? And I think you said this earlier about the acorn, and I love this, is that awareness alone doesn't transform you.
Nope.
So you could say, oh yeah, I had a traumatic relationship with my dad on the golf course and I was turning into an asshole, but that doesn't change you. It may help you realize what's happening in the moment, and you can maybe perhaps control it a little bit better, but it's not going to change you. So walk us through some things that, how do we change it? How do we transform it?
First download the app. It's free. Let's start with that. Go Ultimate Business Quest, download it, Android and Apple. It's got an E-rating for everybody. And I want your kids to go through it too, because that's how they stay there. So guys,
did you say it's free, by the way?
It is free. We did.
So everyone, you need to download the app. It's free, and it's for people of all ages.
Correct.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And designed that way. And specifically those of you who think you already know business, please download it. Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not saying you don't, but you are the single reason why you hit the glass ceiling. I was too. So all my partners were. We all realized. And trauma, and let's go back to that. I'm going to ask you a question in this kind of, all-encompassing way. Trauma has always been, relegated to personal trauma, right? My mom, my dad, my abuse, my sexual abuse, my psychological abuse, my physical abuse, my what ifs. I wasn't good enough. I grew up poor. I grew up whatever.
Right.
Okay. Well, what about your business trauma?
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't realize it. Your business trauma is 90% of the fundamental challenge of the commit to quit problem. Our business trauma says, I hope for the best, plan for the worst, or partners suck, or, every time I try to do this, blah, blah, blah happens, or, I've been burned by those things before. And we say those comments innocuously, thinking that we're consciously, competently aware of our commentary. We're not. We're gone limbic. You've gone right into your reptilian brain. You are just hypnotized. You don't realize you are, which is the weirdest part. You don't realize you are. And those comments are automated response mechanisms that are coming from your trauma, the pain that you haven't worked through, the facing of the truth. Because the reality check is, and this is where people don't want to own it. So everybody gear up, put your big boy, big girl britches on, because it's the truth. And the truth is where it lives in the darkness of you. Stop this bullshit of I need to be enlightened being and you need to be all light. Cut the crap, kids. 90% of the universe is dark. And I'm not talking dark because dark has been relegated as evil. That's not what I mean. If you look at it from a socialistic point of view, we kind of laugh at ourselves because let's be honest, we'll go out on dates when we start courting somebody. That's usually at a candlelit dinner. It's dark. What do? We go to a nightclub or an EDM club. Nightclub, dark. Why? Because we don't want to see people seeing us, dancing. Because we want to look like a dork, whatever, right? Where do we tend to, make love or have sex? Generally in the dark. Not always, but if you look at the generalities, we're in the dark. So that means we're constantly presenting this image up front of the light. But the truth is in the darkness of ourselves. It's in our shame, our guilt, our embarrassment. I don't feel good enough. Damn it, I blew that last business. I invested in this company and it went belly up and I look like an idiot and I told everybody I did this and I was going to be a gazillionaire. Those little business traumas are the fear mechanisms that keep you from going out and creating your own dreams. It's not that you need to learn to manifest an abundant life. You're manifesting every freaking day. You're here.
Get out of your own way.
Yeah, it's not even get out of your own way. It's you are creating it because there's nothing really in your way. That's another innocuous statement. People go, well, get out of your own way. Well, who the hell's in my way? What am I, my split personality? What the frick are you talking about? And when you hear it, it makes intentional sense. But application and transformation, it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to your subconscious, which is a computer. It does what it's programmed to do. But we get to look at the trauma. Awareness is definitely a key. But awareness of I'm constantly looking for the things that are keeping me held back, again, puts you into a frame of, again, not good enough, not maybe that. And when you hear that long enough, it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, kids, you won't do it. I don't give a crap if I walked up to you right now and said, I'm going to give you $1 million, but for the next year, you've got to walk barefoot wherever you go. That includes street, desert, hot, whatever. You'd say, yeah, that sounds great until about a month in it. And then you'd quit because it's painful. And that's how we tend to approach business. We don't think we're doing that. So we had to shift the thematic to fun. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we found clinically by moving you into the fantastical realm, a story, a fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, the list goes on. Those fantastical journeys, why are they massive mega billion-dollar success franchises? Because they take us into another world where we can learn about ourselves in a safe environment. Archetypally, we do the same thing, but we've done it in a metaphoric structure called the quest, which takes our entrepreneurial journey. And everything about the quest is fantastical. The first thing you're going to figure out is, how are you going to play the game? Are you a warrior, a wizard, a bard, and a jester? You're the only one that can answer those questions. It's the first thing you do. And then when you start to realize, holy crap, I'm surrounding myself with all the people that are just doers. Well, here's the problem. If they're just doers and you don't know what you're doing, meaning you don't know where you're supposed to go, well, you're just running around doing mindless crap, which is what we tend to do often. We think our doing is efficient. We think our doing generates the results. And we think our doing is passion. Nope, none of those are close to the truth. So when we start looking at the breakdown of it, it is a conscious awareness step one. Got it. I need to transform. I need to learn the blueprint to transform myself. I cannot step into something I do not understand. I cannot reflect that which I do not know. I cannot become that which I do not believe. History dictated all the way back to Plato. Go argue with all the great teachers. Guys, if you want to argue with that, you're the first person that needs to download the app, right? So when you have fun with that and you go, well, what's the fun? I'm going to make everything fun. Now, at first, you're going to discover every part of you that's a grumpy, old, crabbity individual. That's going to be a real fun journey. And the fun part is you get to laugh at yourself at the stupid shit you say to yourself all day long. Well, this is stupid. That business can't be fun. There's your first one right there. Says who? Show me who says business can't be fun. I double dog dare you. You created that bullshit. It's not true. Look at Tesla. Look at Elon Musk. Yeah, are there things that can be challenging, but those two can be fun too. For example, and really what became the thematic for me to the transformation part of it was in 2018, right about the time that last time you and I were hanging out down in Cali. I was invited to climb Kilimanjaro, and I've never climbed a mountain before. I'm an ocean kid. That's cold. That has white stuff up there and wind blows and ice. Screw that shit. I don't want to do that. But something inside of me, that thing that all of you would call your instinct, your guts, your heebie-jeebies, your coincidence, said to me, go. You need to do this. And before my conscious mind could come up with some objectional crap, out of my mouth came, hell yeah, I'm in. And I remember hanging up the phone going,
what did I just do?
What the hell did I? What are you, nuts? People die there every day. What are you, crazy? It's like one of the tallest mountains in the world. What are you, insane? You have no idea how to climb a mountain. What are you doing? But something inside me said, go. And we ignore that. We ignore it in business. We ignore it in conflict. We ignore it in relationships. I mean, how many of you have gotten in relationships and you knew that person was going to be, whoa, this is not going to last. This was stupid. But you did it anyways because something in your limbic system overrode you. And you didn't listen to you. You listened to a program in your head. Now, the challenge for that for me was when I went to Kilimanjaro, is I thought Kilimanjaro was going to be this kind of like talking experience. Nope. You're just trying to breathe, literally. It's one step, one breath, or poli, as they say over in Tanzania. And when I got to the top, I was right at 19,000 feet. I'll never forget it. Me and my climbing partners, the two of us, we got to 19,000 feet, and we're still not at the summit. It's 19,341 feet. And 341 feet down at sea level doesn't sound like, you're like, Travis, that's no big deal. But at 19,000 feet, boys and girls, it's over an hour plus to go that far and to get back just to where I was sitting. And we had to get off the mountain because you can't spend the night up there. You die. At least I couldn't. They were told, like, look, you can't. Okay, fine by me. I don't want to be up here. It's cold. It's negative 10 below zero. The wind's blowing 40 knots. There's nothing up here. I feel like I'm on Mars. There's glaciers up here. Beautiful view, but damn, it's cold. I'm really good to go. But I made the mistake and I sat down for a second. My climbing partner had started to get early signs of altitude sickness, and there's only one cure: get off the mountain. We weren't committed to getting off the mountain yet. And I said, hey, if we need to turn, let's turn. And that was the first time I realized there was a subtlety of an excuse. Oh, well, I did 19,000 feet. It's only 3. No one will ever know because it's just us on the mountain. Who's going to ever know? I would know. And we do that all day long in our business. We do it to our relationships. We do it to our bodies. We just ignore it. I sat down, which was the first mistake, because as soon as you sit down, you become aware of your breathing. When you're walking, you're kind of in this hypnotic trance. You're very focused on, and it becomes very hypnotic. And it's a beautiful meditative state, and things do come up for you, family. All kinds of crap came up for me. And what I realized was there was a subtle excuse there: quitting before the top. How many of you have quit right before you got there? And you know it. You weren't committed. And I got to a moment where my breathing started to get out of control because I became aware of my breathing, and I started to have a limbic panic attack where I was like, holy shit, I can't breathe. And I mean, that you really can't. In my training, I trained for 2 months. People train their lifetime to do this. I was way out of my depth and way out of my scope. I was running on pure instinct. And I had a moment. I had my moment with God. And I felt this beautiful voice inside me that was very calm, very clear, that said, are you willing to die for it? Are you willing to die for it right here, right now? No bullshit, no games. Are you willing to die for it? Because this is the moment. And there was the moment of fear because die scared the crap out of me. I don't want to die. I got friends and family. I got kids. I'm not done yet, man. I'm only 48. What are you talking about? I just started to figure out that I don't even like being an adult. It took me 48 years to figure that out. Holy crap. And I looked at my partner and I had this piece and I just said, yeah, I am. And I'm committed to it. And if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on my own choice because I did something I'm passionate about. Then there's no finer honor, in my opinion, to go out. If you're going to go out in your choice and your pattern and your passion, that you were chasing that dream because it's yours. And I got up, I got my breathing back in the cycle. We climbed to the top, and I got to the top and I had the second epiphany. And the second was I realized that getting to that top of that mountain, there's the illusion. Because getting to the top, you're actually only halfway. You got to get your ass back down. They don't tell you that in the brochure, that going back down is twice as hard as going up. I didn't know that, and it wasn't in the brochure. So I bit hook, line, and sinker. I made it to the top. I'm a badass. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I got to get back down. The helicopter doesn't come get me. Oh, shit. It's the longest day of your life. It was 22-hour day of nonstop climbing. And you start at midnight the night before. And so There's
Wow.
magical experiences up there. And I realized I got to the top, and it changed me forever. It changed me from realizing that I never wanted to. Yeah, I never wanted to go to the top by myself again.
What is it? That's 2%. The last 2%.
If that, yeah, maybe one, right? The
1%.
the 1 inch yard line, exactly.
Yeah.
And I got there.
That's a beautiful metaphor.
And it was, yeah, well, it was taught by the best teacher, Mount Kilimanjaro, the queen herself. She taught me, and she taught me in silence. She didn't have to be.
She didn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
Nature does that.
Yeah, she said, "Hey, okay, tough guy, let's try this out." I'm like, "Oh shit!" But I came down when I got down to 16,000 feet, which is just shy of base camp. I had an emotional break. It was like my whole life poured out of me. I had realized, holy crap, I've been climbing to the top so hard, so fast, become successful. I realized I was up there by myself. And when I got to the top, and I realized I have no one, I could tell the story, and I've told the story now probably 100 times on different podcasts and interviews. And no one can really relate unless you've climbed Kilimanjaro or done Everest. So it's like describing sex to a virgin. Well, that sucks. I want people to experience it with me and with them. I want to go together. And that's what the quest was about. Let's quest together, because we're all questing in some form or another. Right. And that's where that was the final piece where I was like, that's what's missing. Fun. And that's how we start diving into the darkness, because in the darkness up there, it is dark. But two, you can't run from you. There's nowhere to go. So you get to look at, why am I scared to be successful? Because the truth is, you're not scared to fail. Shit, you're a master at it. Don't give me that crap. People go, I'm scared of failure. Bullshit. You're a master of it. You've been mastering it since they told you to become an adult. You're scared of success because you have no frame of reference for it. You have to transform you to be the next level of success for you, whether that's 100,000 a year, 1 million a year, 10 million or 100 million, whatever. You have to transform you. And it starts from an internal transformation of releasing in a fun way your trauma. Your trauma about business. Your trauma about, I don't know. But isn't I don't know a really crappy way of saying, I'm curious, can I learn?
Yes, exactly. Right.
And now if you make that fun, like you did when you were a kid, and we show you exactly how to do it, how to hire and fire, how to conquer your 7 fears, how to do a business plan. We even give you an opportunity to submit so you can get funding, right? We give cash prizes away. We don't do that as a marketing tactic. We do it because the truth is, coming out of the last 3 years we've all come out, our GDP is almost destroyed. Why? Because some 80% of our world, at least the United States and other countries, but the United States in specific, is done from small and medium businesses that are doing between 100,000 and $1 million a year. They need the help the most. They're the biggest, largest employers, not these massive companies, although they do, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But their infrastructure is so intact, they can survive.
Right.
But what about the rest of them? And that became my passion. I mean, it's been my passion for 16 years, but that became the impetus of gameplay, turn it into an app, make it an adventure, and keep reminding people you're on the adventure of a lifetime. Don't ever forget it, because death is non-negotiable. It is the ultimate closing of the deal. And once that deal's closed, it's over. Regardless of your belief structure of reincarnation or another world, this journey, as Travis Fox, one day will end, which is the impetus to light the fire in your ass to move. Stop doing the same things over and over again. You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to your world, but make it fun. Stop doing it out of obligation, because obligation sucks. It's like going to a funeral. Nobody wants to go to a funeral. Nobody does, because it reminds us we're all mortal, but we go out of respect, but often it's obligation. We approach business the same way. Well, I got to go to work. I have to go to work today. You don't have to.
One of the things I really didn't understand before coming in today, which I love, is that this is made for everybody.
Yes.
This is not made for some company that signs up with you in a subscription or a model, like a consulting agreement. This is like anybody who can go on the app, get curious, learn more about themselves, enjoy a journey, have fun, go
develop
deep,
a business.
Develop a business, solve problems, learn of all the things that are getting in your way. I love that, man. I really honor you for putting the effort and energy into this, because this is not simple. This is not something you thought up and put pen to paper. Really beautiful.
Thanks, man. Well, and what we did was made it even more fun, because you got to choose your adventure, right? So you have to be able to speak the language, whatnot. So now we now have 6 subdivisions. So we have a whole networking division where you can work with other questers in the app and network for real. not
Right.
like how you and I met, where, hey, what do you do and how many kids do you
Yeah.
have?
What do you do? That's the first question we
business,
ask.
right? We show you how to ask literally 2 questions and create personality typing to build teams quickly and know what these individuals, where they fit in your team, because you know your passion, your purpose, your mission, your vision. But then we also have the podcasting division, like we talked about, because that's becoming a medium now. And now you teach you how to be a bard about your business, the passion of your business, to understand how your messaging actually works. What is your unique selling proposition? Do you even know it? We teach you how to do that. And then from there, we've moved into the deeper divisions where we're like, hey, look, there's a lot of people out there that want to get funding in a business. So we've moved into that space. Our 501c, which is our charity, actually does give those cash prizes away, because sometimes you just need someone to go, hey man, I believe in you. I saw what you did. I saw that you didn't quit. I saw that you doubled your business when nobody was paying attention because they think pool business is not cool enough or whatever it is. And you get those little helps. And so now the company has continued to expand to 7 divisions and continue to grow. But the app is designed that way. You choose your adventure.
Well, I really encourage everyone to do it. And I want to be respectful for your time. I don't mean to rush you. I think we could talk for another 2 hours.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, this is really it's amazing, actually.
Thanks,
I guess as I wrap up, and I want to maybe we will do this another time, because one of the things I mentioned to you before we started recording was that I'm very pulled about your energy.
Thank
You have this presence about you, and I've met you in person as well, not just through the podcast, but you have this energy, and I'm really fascinated about how you harness that energy and how you not necessarily create it, but how you manage it, how you keep it sustaining as you're doing so many things. But as a final question, for you, what does it mean to live a rich life?
I bifurcate rich and wealth. Kilimanjaro is one of my big teachers, and rich and wealth are very different things. I think a lot of people chase riches as monetary money, and I did too. I got to the top of the hill and had the cars and the houses, and I was like, I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Wealth is your legacy. What is your mission? It is the wealth of the relationships that you have. It is the wealth of how you teach your children to be on their own adventure. It is the wealth of, hey, my brother or my sister need help and I can help without thought or cause. It is the wealth of relationships that separates us from the rich. The rich have money. I have money too. Had a lot, had money, lost money, I've had it. Yeah, having money is better than not. But like Kilimanjaro, you can be rich as hell and be alone as they come. I cite Steve Jobs, a great creator, very, very wealthy man, dead at 50. Money doesn't save you. It is the wealth of your relationships. And especially during these times that we've gone through in the last couple of years, I found out who my friends really are and who my acquaintances are. And they're different. I found out the people who are transactional and the people who are in it for the brand, in it for the business and for the mission. And that makes your time your most valuable asset. And when you understand that your time is what makes you wealthy and where you invest it, you will see the difference between rich and wealth.
Dr. Travis Fox, I honor you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. We could keep going, my friend, but I really appreciate it. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I really encourage everyone to go. We'll put the links down below, but it's called theultimatebusinessquest.com. Download the app. It's free. Dr. Travis Fox, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate being on the show.